Hi there. This tutorial has been made to give you a simple understanding about what fractions are, and then lead on to further tutorials that will show you how to simplify fractions, deal with improper fractions, add, subtract, multiply and divide fractions. Let's get started. Let's have a look at this picture here. Okay, so we have a picture of a glass, drinking glass. If I were to drop that glass to a hard floor, chances are it would break into several pieces. Okay, like the diagram shows here. Now these pieces can be called fractions because they are now smaller pieces of the original whole glass. All these pieces used to be that whole glass, but now they're not because they're broken. So they've broken into individual pieces. Now, let's say if it was to have broken into 12 pieces, for example, and you picked up 5 of them, you would have 5 pieces out of a total of 12, or 5/12 of the glass in your hand. So if you had to pick up these 5, for instance, remember you've got 12 broken pieces and you picked up 5 of them, you would have 5/12 of that drinking glass. So therefore a fraction can be described as a proportion of a specified total amount. In the example I've just given you, the 5 pieces you would have picked up was the proportion, and the 12 was the total amount. Now this sounds quite technical and scary, so let's make it simple by looking at some examples I've got on the board here behind this. Okay, now here in front of us we have 2 fractions. We have 3/8 and we have 5/7. Okay, they're 2 different fractions. Now if you noticed, I've given each one of these numbers for each fraction a name. Now it's very important that you remember these names because they will crop up quite often in fractions. The top number, in other words the number above the line, is always called the numerator. The number below the line is always called the denominator. Same again in this example here. So the 5 is the numerator, the 7 is the denominator. So let's use the example again. If I had a glass and it dropped to the floor and it broke into 8 pieces, I picked up 3 of them. I'll have 3 of the 8 pieces, so I'd have 3/8 of the total glass. Imagine I had a piece of cake, or a whole cake I should say, and I cut it into 7 pieces. I gave 5 of those pieces away. Okay, so that's 5/7 of the cake which has been given away. Okay, now just bear with me a moment. I'm not much of an artist, so please bear with me. What I'm going to do, I'm going to draw a circle and a rectangle, and underneath I'm going to draw another circle and a rectangle. Okay, now imagine this is a pie, okay, and this is a cake, a rectangular cake. Cake can come in any shape and any size really. Okay, so this is a whole pie, and that's a whole cake. It hasn't been cut up, it hasn't been subdivided, it hasn't been turned into any fractions. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to turn it into fractions now. I'm going to turn this one into, cut it into 5 pieces, and with this cake here, we're going to turn it into 7 pieces. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and what I'm going to do is number it. There you go. So that's a whole pie, and that's a representation of the same pie, and that's a cake, and that's the same cake. Only difference is they've been cut into different pieces. This one has been cut into 5 pieces. In other words, they've been cut into individual fifths. This cake has been cut into 7 pieces. Okay, so they've been cut into sevenths. Now, say for instance, I had 2 friends and they came along, they're quite hungry and they wanted some pie. 2 friends, okay, so that's 2 bits of the pie that's now gone. So we've taken away the 2 from the 5. Okay, so that is 2/5. Okay, because we've taken away 2 from the whole amount of 5. Remember, that used to be 1 complete pie. We cut it into 5 pieces. I've now given 2 pieces away, so it's 2/5. So what you're left with is 3/5. Let's look at this cake here. Okay, so we're at a party and 5 people came along, and what they did, they took each a piece of cake. Okay, so we had a whole cake, we cut it into 7 pieces. 5 people came along and took 5 pieces of the cake away. So that's 5/7 that has gone from that cake. And what's left? 2/7. Now this was a basic introduction to fractions. Hopefully you should now have an understanding of what fraction is. Thank you for listening.